Hello, hello, roommates. It's Jelana coming at you live from the Blue Room, and tonight we are going to be making some airplane menus. Before I design, I like to load brand kits into my Canva profile so I'm not hunting for colors and fonts and stuff while I'm trying to design. So I'm going to show you that part first before we get into designing our foldable airplane menus. So first we're going to start by opening a new project. I'm going to click create and look for worksheet landscape. Because this is going to be in the style of an airplane, I want to use as much space as I can, which means I want the bigger portion to be my width. Okay, so I'm going to be building two static palettes today. One is going to be for a wedding and one is going to be for a spring brunch. But we're going to start with the wedding first. So first we're going to open styles or the brand kit panel, which is here. Now, keep in mind, you do have to be a Canva Pro member in order to save these brand kits, I believe. So if you are not a Canva Pro member, I would strongly suggest you think about joining. Think about at least trying out the free trial. If you're an educator, you can always use your .edu email and see if you can get this for free, which is exactly how I ended up with Canva Pro from my teaching days. So here we go. Let's click on the brand kit, and then we're going to create a new one. If you've seen any of my old YouTube videos, you know that we've used the Valentine's Day color palette quite often. So we're transitioning into a new season. So I am going to create a brand new kit. When I create brand new kit, I'm going to call this one Blushing Bride, because blush is one of the colors I'm going to put in here, so it will trigger my mind to say, oh yeah, that has the color blush in it. All right, so now let's add our swatches. I'm going to come over here to add colors, and since my wedding palette is soft and romantic and you're going to be able to print this at home, I'm going to use ivory as my base. So I click on add new color. I want to title it ivory. And then I'm going to use the hex code FFF8F2. And that's one. And then when you hover over it, it will say the name and the hex code. So I'm going to be using ivory as my base. I'm also choosing this because it's easy to print at home. You can always use white cardstock, but in case you want a little bit of color without really having to worry about the contrasting colors of your fonts and stuff, it's good to have like a off-white, if you will. So the ivory is going to be the base. The next color is going to be charcoal. This is going to be my main ink. Instead of black, I'm just going to be using charcoal. And the hex code for this is all twos. So 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Okay, blush is going to be used for more personalization moments, but I wanted it to be like a nice soft pink. So the hex code for this is E9C7C8. And then I had like a really calm sage color. I used it once before in the Black Girl Yoga bundle that I made at the beginning of the year. So I wanted to kind of tie this in a little bit because I feel like it could be cohesive. So let's call this sage. And the hex code for this is 7C8F7A. I just think that's really nice and kind of says spring and fresh. And then taupe is going to be for our quieter details. So taupe. And then we want to have B7A79A. All right, here's our color palette. I'm going to, I think I can rearrange these. I thought I could. Okay, well, I'm going to save. I do want to make them instantly. So now my color palette is here, and I'll show you what this shuffle bar will do for us in just a second. But since we're already here, I want to also go ahead and build the fonts that I'm going to be using for this kit. So back in the brands, I click on fonts and then add a font. For the fonts, I wanted to keep elegance in our headlines. I wanted there to be some clarity in the body of our text and romantic a little bit with the name. So I went with a script for that one. So for our headings or our headlines, we're going to be using Playfair Display. So you'll click choose a font, type Playfair Display, and this is going to be our regular font. So I'm going to choose a semi-bold. You can keep the font size at 32. We can size it as we go, and then click check. Then for the text that I'm going to be using for the majority of our craft, we're going to use that as the subheading. And this is going to be Montserrat. If you have seen any of my previous videos, you know this is one of the fonts that I love because it is very versatile, and you can fit it on any background, whether it's a pattern or plain background. But maybe I can't spell. Oh, there it is. Okay. I was like, wait, what's happening? Okay, and then for this, I want a regular. So it's a little bit darker and not as thin. And then lastly, we're going to use our quote for our script. And the reason I'm choosing quote is because it's already italicized. So I'm going to use the font Allura for this one. And then I want her to be a lot bigger, so I'm going to go with 21. Yeah, maybe 28. And then these are going to be our fonts. I click save, save. And I like that Canva reduces them to only the things that I need. So this is essentially our font kit for our wedding palette. Now we're going to create another one for our spring brunch palette that I'm working on. So same deal, I create a new brand kit. This is called Spring Brunch. The first thing I want to do is add my colors. So this time I was going for a nice, bright, fresh, dynamic energy. So I wanted it to be just brighter and more vibrant. So my cream color is going to serve as my base this time. And I did plan on using cream colored cardstock on my Blue Room Boost Cricut ideas. So you will see a lot of cream colored cardstock on TikTok if you follow me there. So the hex code for my cream base is FFF6E9. Then I want my garden greens to be my lead. I just feel like spring, of course, means greenery. And I love this hue of this green. So let me put this in so y'all can feel the vibes. This is 4F7C64. Come on. That's a carrier. It's so great. I love it. This is my lead. Okay, then I was like, well, I'm a Georgia peach. Shout out to everybody in the ATL. So, of course, you're not having brunch without a peach mimosa. So, I wanted to add our peach color to give our designs a little bit of warmth. So, the hex code for that is F7B7A3. And then, of course, you got your strawberries just for a little pop of color. This is like a hue in the red family, but also still connects well to the peach since it's building off of a little bit of pink. So the hex code for this is going to be E63946. We also needed something that could help me with our gold elements because in my mind, I'm just thinking eucalyptus and earth tones with pops of gold. So I'm going to bring in a bright, bright butter yellow. So I'm going to call it butter yellow. And the hex code for this is F2C94C. And it just pulls everything together. Like it makes me want to jump into like a pool and enjoy the sunlight. I love it. So we click save. Yes, we want our changes to be instantly shared. And then we need to add fonts here. So brunch is giving personality. So I definitely want something bold for the heading. How about we try a Brill fat face? A Brill fat face. Yes, that's nice. Then I wanted to stay a little bit playful, of course. This is going to be our script font. So this is going to be playlist script. Playlist. Which makes sense, right? Because while I'm at the brunch, there needs to be some kind of live music going on. So we're going to go with playlist script. I'm going to make this a lot bigger and maybe go with a 36. I like that. And then, of course, our body still remains super easy to read, but instead of using Montessori at this time, we're going to go with Poppins. So in my body, I want that to be Poppins. I do like, yeah, the regular works. So here's what we've got. That's what this needs to be bigger, right? Like you can already tell that this size is going to be a little small. So I'm going to edit this so that maybe we live right around, how about let's make this 36? No, 36 is too big. How about 20? I think 18 fits. We'll see how that looks when we're designing. We might need to do something about that, but we'll see. Okay, so we've got our spring and wedding fonts and color palette. So now we are ready to get into the actual designing of our airplane menu. Okay, so let me get out of this and let's focus on our page. Before we get started, sorry, I know we said we were jumping in, but it's important that we can see our guidelines. So let me just set up our canvas. I'm gonna rename this to airplane menu. Okay, and then I wanna go to settings and then show rulers and guides. And then I want those guides to be 1/2 inch on each side. So I don't want any columns. I want the margin to be 0.5 and 0.5. Okay, so this is going to give me my printable area outlined in purple. So I'm good to put any elements, any fonts, anything inside the most inner square. Everything else is gonna serve as my guidelines. So when I print this out and cut it with my paper trimmer, I can have clear lines of where I need to snip my page. Okay, so we've got our guidelines. And then for this airplane, I'm gonna be designing in 5 general zones, which is gonna be our body, our wings, our nose, our tail, and the inside, which you open the menu to see. So let's build our airplane. First, we're going to need a dotted line. So I'm gonna come over to elements, hit line, and then I just want something that cues to the mind, hey, you need to fold this line right here. But of course we need to know where it's gonna start and where it's gonna end. So we're gonna start by rotating it 90 degrees and finding the very center of our design. We'll know it's the center because our guidelines will pop up and tell us. I'm gonna extend all the way to the edge of the page. I know it is out of my printable area, but because it's out of my printable area, or my usable area, when it comes out of the printer, I will be able to clearly line this up and see where I need to cut things off. We're going to need 2 more of these lines, so I'm just gonna right click on my mouse and go to duplicate, and then line this up in the same spot, but I'm just gonna tilt it out to the right a little bit because we need to figure out where this lands so we can actually fold our paper. So let me grab another one, go to duplicate, and this one we line back up in the center, but we're gonna rotate to the other side. Okay, it's coming together. Okay, now how far away from our edge do we want our airplane to start? When I made this, I measured the tail ends to be 1.3 inches away from the edge. So what I'm gonna do is grab just a random line. I'm gonna go to position, And then I need the start distance and X distance to be 1.3. The easiest way to do that is to hit 0. Well, that part doesn't actually matter. I guess it's the Y value, right? And then 1.3. This is as far as we want. That's it. So I'm going to pull this up to my printable area, and that is going to tell me where the edge of my folded line needs to be. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Grab that folded line. And again, we're going to the edge. And I'm going to bring this back just to make sure everything works out. Whenever you're in math class and you're like, I never thought, when am I going to use this in real life? This is nothing but geometry right now. Shout out to all the former math teachers. I see you. But I'm doing geometry in real life right now. This is an intersection point. We got a lot happening. My brain is very excited. Okay. So now that we've built the basis of our airplane, again, this is going to all get cut off. We're going to go ahead and build our cut lines now. So I'm going to go back to elements. I'm going to grab another line. Just a very simple black line. I want to outline these guidelines in black. Well, it won't be black. It will be like a light gray. So I'm actually going to change that right now. Just pick the lightest gray. I want it to be able to print, but I don't want it to be so obvious that it becomes part of the design. And now we just duplicate. You can align it to the bottom of the page. That might help you move things a little bit quicker. And then I'm going to duplicate again. This is a little bit thick for me though. So let's make it size 2. The stroke weight to size 2. That's a little bit thinner. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key. After I line this up, I'm going to hold down the shift key and select both of the lines I just created. Duplicate them. Rotate them 90 degrees. And now I just need to place them on the guides. Okay. And then it doesn't need to be that tall, so. Nope. Yeah, okay. And I'm just lining them up on the purple lines. It'll be a nice surprise when you print this out. You're like, oh yeah, I did put those guidelines over there. Oh yeah, I did add that. It's nice. You can't see them while you're designing, but you'll be glad for them when you print them out. What am I doing? I lost my train of thought. Sorry, y'all. I told y'all my brain was excited because, you know, it would be easier if I just duplicate this line. Because I'm thinking about geometry now and all my kids that I used to teach and how they're doing and what their life is like. It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, so we've got our outline, we've got our plane, and now we need to add our elements. So let's get back into our wedding palette. We're going to start with that one. And of course, the most important message is always the headline. So our headline for this menu is going to say, "Our love is taking flight." So I'm going to go back over to my brand kit. I'm going to find Blushing Bride, and I'm going to click heading. And it pops up. I've already chosen the fonts and everything. We're good to go. So let's type "Our love is taking flight." Okay, I'm going to make this about 50. Let's make it maybe 50. How about 56? No, we don't want that. Yeah, let's go with 32. I think that works fine. And these need to be a little thinner as well. That's not what I meant to do. These are a little bit too obvious for me. So I'm going to change the stroke weights from 4 down to that same 2. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Maybe even 1. Yeah, that's a little less obvious, right? And then maybe make them gray as well. Because, I mean, I don't want this to be, like, abrasive. But, I mean, it's going to be folded. Yeah, I think I like that setup a little bit better. What y'all think? That's why it's throwing me off. I'm making sure all of my intersection points line up because they weren't. Everything should cross with the page. Okay, now we're good. All right, so we've got our headline. We got our Love is Taking Flight. We need to make it charcoal. Remember, it's not black. So I click on this text color and my color palette is already ready for me. I just click on the charcoal color. All right. And then I want to add the actual parts of the menu on the left side of the wing. So it's going to live over here. This is the middle portion. Everything inside of this V is the middle. And then on the left, we've got our first wing. So the left wing is for guest decisions. So I'm going to type appetizer and salad. So let me add a subheading because this is going to be part of our body. And I want it to say appetizer, salad. Okay, and then I want this to, I think that's a good size, but I am going to downsize the actual frame, the text frame. And then I'm going to put this, yeah, I'll leave that there. And this is going to be charcoal as well. Okay, it already is. Cool, cool. And then I'm going to duplicate for symmetry and type entree and dessert. So I'm going to duplicate this. There we go. Appetizer is going to be salad. I wonder if I could actually, I'm thinking here. Sorry, y'all. I wonder if I could, yeah. I think I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to change this and keep the salad. Yeah, I'll keep the actual like names of the menu items in this Montserrat font, but I want to put the categories in a script. So this is going to say appetizer. And then I'm going to make this a lot bigger, but let me place it first. I feel like that's not how you spell appetizer. It's not. There we go. Okay, I'm using my guides to tell me everything is good. I pull the word salad up. Okay, and then I'm going to copy both of those, duplicate them, and make this our entree. And duplicate it again and make it our dessert. So this will be a 3-course meal. Okay. Now the entree is, let's call it like grilled chicken and vegetables. Okay. Just making this a little wider so everything fits. sliding things down. Okay. And you'll notice that my purple box outline is still within my V, so when it folds, it won't be in the way. Okay, so we've got our menu so far. And then on the nose, which is going to be right around here, I'm going to put the names. So how about we add our names? It's going to be in the same, I think, script font works for me. And let's do mine and my husband's names, which is Jamarcus and Jelana. And then remember, when you fold this, your paper is actually going to end up a little bit backwards. So I'm going to make this 120 degrees. And because it's our wedding, I'm going to make our names a little bit bigger. And then the goal is to align this with the wing and how it folds. So I'm using, again, that line to guide me to where I need to land. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. This has been there that whole time. I apologize. We don't need that. We don't need that. Okay, let's see if we can make this work. Okay. I think that works. Maybe a little bit bigger. Yeah. 5 inches is good. That might be too big, actually. I mean, it's our wedding, but it's also like, come on, girl. We know you get married already. So let's make it 32. I feel better with that. That's big enough, but not crazy. And I am using my guides. Again, everything lines up, so that tells me I'm in the right spot. Okay, now on the back, I'm going to be putting our date. And I'm just going to put it on the tail. So I'm going to add that. I think I'm going to keep the same font. Let's do the same quote font. But I'm going to add our wedding date, which is 06. 06. I swear I know my wedding date. I was thinking of the keyboard shortcut to get the bullet. If you know the keyboard shortcut on a Mac computer to get the bullet, like the bulleted list, then I would prefer that, because I think that would be much cuter than this. And because of that, I'm going to change fonts, because I don't like the numbers in script. So let's make it, oh, that's fine, so we can compare. Yeah. Kind of like a serial number. That's what I was going for. Like the serial number on the plane. Let's call it SD for like save the date. We don't need that. We'll just do the numbers. That's fine. Okay, we're going to turn it upside down because, again, this is going to end up being folded. And then I'm going to put this date on the tail. I'm going to fix my frame so I can give my numbers room to breathe. Yeah, I think I like that. Okay. And I'm going to turn this around, actually. Yeah, that'll make more sense. Okay, and then because this is just a small detail, I'm actually going to change the text color to the taupe that we wanted. So I'm going to go with that. I think that'll be really nice. Oh, and I forgot to change our names to this green, our sage color. Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want. Or we could do that blush. Nah, I like the green. Okay, cool. And now we've got our dates. We've got all of our important things. Let's do A little bit of decorations. Now this is going to be our menu, so I forgot to add the menu title. So let me duplicate this. I'm going to change the rotation. I knew it wasn't 70. I think it's more like 60. Okay, and this is actually going to be called our menu. And I'm going to make this big because remember, it's going to close, right? I'll include some pictures of what the final piece looks like, so y'all can gather what I'm saying. I get that maybe it's not easy to see how it's going to turn out right now, but that's what we want. And I do want this to be the menu. Now, I'm putting menu here, but you could also double this as a like a place setting. So instead of putting Jelana and Jamarcus, you could just put one name. And now it's a place setting as well. I actually like that better. So let's just do that. And then yeah, I think I like this. And then you keep everything black. This is big enough. Yeah, I think this works. But this seems crooked because it is. There we go. It's a little bit better. Close enough. Okay. So you can do your own thing. You could print this on white paper and just go as is. If that were the case, I would change this black or this charcoal to, I would change the categories to like that blush pink so that all your colors are involved. Or since the date is taupe, I would pull in another, actually, let's just do that. And then maybe you could print this on pink paper. Or you could print this on that cream paper. Let's do that. Let's make all of this pink, keep that green, do our charcoal, and then print on like that cream taupe paper. So this is essentially what it would look like. Or I'm sorry, not taupe, that ivory paper. Ooh, and that's telling me it's hard to see, which means this probably needs to be that color. And we could probably bold this. I think that's okay. I wonder if this seems a little out of place now. So maybe I change that script to, oh no, because it will be closed. So I think actually that makes more sense to do. Ooh. I think it makes a little more sense. I'm just trying to go for look, y'all. Sorry, you're hearing me think out loud. Okay, so I'm not mad at this, but it's too big. Yeah, way too big. Maybe that's better. Yeah, that's a little bit better. And then here, I think this can stay, but we make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm just gonna downsize everything until it fits within frame. There we go. And then put it in the middle. Yes, okay. That works. And that's not how you spell chicken. Okay, I think we're in a good spot. But again, you can do this on white paper, but I like this. I'm going to actually print it on cream paper, but the reason I'm gonna keep it white on here is because I don't want the cream color to print on the cream paper. So this is going to go back to white, and we are pretty much done. Now, let's see how we can, oh, I forgot, we need to add an element. This is looking a little bit plain, which is why I always save this part for last. So I'm going to do, I'm going to go over the elements, and I'm just looking for a single like stem rose. I think something like that would work. Let's take a look at the graphics and see what they got. Now, I do love this like lined work here. I think it fits with the openness of the things. Keeps everything open. I wonder, is that too much? Or maybe I place it under the menu. I think I like that better. Yeah, we definitely like that better. Or under the name. Definitely. Definitely. Okay. See, it's coming together. This is what we're doing. We're designing what we want this to look like. And I think that makes a lot of sense to go with where the name is. So let's have it kind of sitting on top of the name. I mean, the name sitting on top of the rose. So I'm going to, yep, that's the middle. Which means this should be the middle. I think that works for me. And then I'm going to just upsize the name a tad. Yeah, there we go. Yay. And then just center it. Perfect. Okay. Nice. I think that works. Okay, I'm done with this. Now, let's remix this entire thing to see how this can become brunch. Watch how fast this goes, okay? We are going to duplicate this page. Then I'm going to change my headline from "Our love is taking flight" to "Brunch is boarding," because we're trying to keep that same airplane vibe. I'm switching. Oh, and I have to switch all my fonts. So let me go to my brand kit. I can go to Spring Brunch. And now I choose my sorry, I lost my train of thought again. I am adding in my fonts. I can click heading if I want to build from scratch and just see what it is, and then change this to a Brill fat face. Very simple. This same thing, everything that is fair, play fair display will essentially become a Brill. Everything that is Montserrat will become Poppins. And it's down here in the recently used. Okay. And then my garden green is going to become all my garden greens. Are going to become my, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be showing y'all. I'm going to click off everything and go to shuffle. And that's all you have to do. It's going to give you what an option could look like. So this could be your brunch menu. If you click shuffle again, this could be your brunch menu. What about that? We could print on strawberry paper. Or you could print this strawberry square out on your paper. You could also print everything on yellow, which I kind of love, like yellow paper planes. Super cute. Or you can keep it like this. And notice that the colors, the score line colors change, but that's all you have to do. I really like the way this one looks. Matter of fact, let me go up to our wedding one and see what other combinations it gives. I'm going to our wedding palette, Blushing Bride, and then I'm gonna click shuffle. That looks real elegant, actually. That looks really good. Ooh, that's nice too. That would take a lot of black ink, but again, you could print this on pink paper. So I'm just giving you an idea of what your paper plane could look like, which is a part of the design space, right? Like you want to be able to see what's what. And the only thing you would have to do down here, ooh, I like that taupe one. Let's keep it like this. This just came up in shuffle, so let's just keep it like this. And then down here, I think I want that purple one, purple, the pink background, or yellow, or green. Drop in the comments below which one is your favorite. I think this says like brunch to me, but I also love that yellow. Okay, we're going with yellow. We're doing the yellow. This is what it's going to look like. Okay, we also have to change these things around. So up here where the date is, you could put something like you could still put the date, really. Or let's call it well, I guess you don't have to put anything at all. You don't have to put anything at all. That's true. But for this rose, we want to change the vibe to something maybe like citrusy, like a fruit or a pastry. And I also need to update the appetizer. So this could be like a southern, how about charcuterie board? And I'm just going to expand the frame so it's on one line and then recenter it. Okay. And then for the entree, we want to keep the same vibes. Let's do chicken and waffles. And then for dessert, we want sweet potato souffle. How you spell souffle? Does Canva have spell check? Another good question, right? And then this one is gonna, and I don't think potato has an E. And thank you, somebody. Okay, thank you. All right, so now I'm just gonna center this again. I'm gonna choose to pull this up and meet in the middle. It's telling me where there we go. I want something to be lowest line. So from there, I'm actually gonna highlight all of these elements, right click, go to space evenly, and then click tidy up, and it will fix things for me. And there you go. I'm gonna pull this up a little bit. And then I want this again not to be a rose. I want something like, I was obsessed with that strawberry. So let's go with something like a strawberry. And I have to change the script fonts too. Now for this one, I don't mind like more of an icon. Would that not be so cute? I like this. Let's remove the background. So we just get the stamp by itself. And then we can put the stamp here instead of our date. And then again, everything on this. Nah, that should be straight. We'll have to see how that comes up. But I like this stamp. And y'all know I was just designing postcards like a couple days ago. So maybe I'm still obsessed with snail mail right now. Okay, and then I'm going to take this rose away. The Allure font is no longer Allure because We're in a different brand kit. Uh-oh. Good thing we have our, oh, it's right here. Yay. So I can click playlist script, and that's going to give me that same bold. Ooh, that looks nice. And then I want this to have some kind of contrast in it. So I actually think I'm going to change these two to that red. So that way when it's closed, it matches the stamp. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. And I'm going to resize a little bit. Yeah, that's better. Then I'm just waiting for my guides to, there we go. Tell me I'm on the right track. Okay. And there you go. You got your brunch paper plane and your love paper plane. And let me give y'all the grid view so y'all can see them side by side. So imagine these folded and laying on your placemats as name plates and an actual functional menu. But notice that I never redesigned the plane itself. I just flipped between the pages. There's the same structure, but it gives a little bit of a new mood. And this allows me to build upon this product. So not only is it, I can actually name each page wedding menu. I can name this brunch menu. I could add a baby shower menu, and so on and so forth. But if you want these layouts already fold tested, they are waiting for you in my Etsy shop. You guys can click on the link in the description box below and browse all of the offerings. If you learned something on this video, if you enjoyed this teaching style, then let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.